Hey guys, welcome back. We have a weekend energy update to get into. A couple things happening this weekend. Of course, we have lots and lots of water energy going on out there. If you've been following the astrology, then you already know that we have tons of planets in water signs right now. We have 7 planets in water signs, and the moon will be transiting the sign of Pisces this weekend as well, amplifying all of that water sign energy. We also have the exact trine between Jupiter and Saturn coming into alignment this weekend. Sunday is going to feature a few different exact activations taking place, actually. We've got the trine between Jupiter and Saturn, which has been building for weeks, hitting exactly on Sunday. On Sunday, we also have Venus exactly opposing Chiron that is going to be squared by Jupiter as well. And to start our week on Friday, we actually have a lunar T-square that is going to be forming as the moon enters the sign of Pisces, forms a square to both Mercury and Uranus, who are currently in an opposition together in the signs of Sagittarius and Gemini. So we're starting the weekend with a lunar T-square. We need to talk about that. Things could be a little bit bumpy on Friday, but I do think Saturday and, Sunday, they are likely to chill out. There are some pretty positive, supportive, harmonious vibes going on. Of course, there is a ton of emotional energy. There could really be some overflows of feelings and various sentiments going on this weekend, but I do think for the most part, it's optimistically oriented. This is a great, fantastic weekend to get the job done, to be productive, to accomplish something. There could be things having to do with like money or investments or commitments that is relevant this weekend as well. And another thing, splurging, indulging, self-soothing through indulging in material or sensory pleasures. This could be a vibe this weekend as well, and we've got a lot to talk about, you guys. Let's get into it. Let's take a closer look at our energy forecast for the weekend, see if we can get an idea of how things may be unfolding as we move through our weekend and prepare to enter the energy of next week. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Friday, October 31st, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the weekend, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. In this video, we are just going to take a good look at our energy forecast for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend as we close out the month of October and enter the month of November. So let's do it. Let's get into it. I do think, as I noted in my intro, that we generally have some pretty chill, harmonious, pleasant energy coming through this weekend, at least after we get through the energy of Friday. Friday could be a little bit bumpy, but the moon in Pisces will trine the sun on Saturday. It will also conjoin the North Node. There is this energy coming through a couple of different ways that could be compelling us towards excess, splurging, maybe overindulging a little bit. And, that's fine. That is definitely written in the stars this weekend, but we want to make sure that there are limits to the excess, okay? Just stating that up front. We don't want it to go so far that a good thing becomes a bad thing, if you know what I mean. But other than that, I do think that people are probably going to be seeking pleasure to an extent this weekend, especially Saturday and Sunday. Now, the grand trine in water that we've been talking about all week, talking about this past couple weeks, is again very highlighted in our energy field, especially on Sunday. Sunday, we've got a couple of different things going on. That is our day where some exact activations are hitting. First of all, we're going to have Jupiter ticking forward 1 degree and arriving at the exact degree that is perfectly trining where Saturn is at right now. We have been talking about this Jupiter-Saturn trine for a few weeks now. We've been building into this energy, and it does come exact on Sunday. And not only does it come exact on Sunday, you guys, but the moon will also be, just happening to be, in the sign of Pisces as well at the exact degree range where it precisely conjunct Saturn while Jupiter is hitting that exact trine. So the grand trine in water, and the third leg of that trine would be Mars, who is still currently in the late degrees of Scorpio. So we've got Jupiter in Cancer, trining Mars in Scorpio, trining Saturn exactly, but also Neptune in the sign of Pisces, and the moon also on Sunday. So the grand water trine definitely still in effect, definitely an energetic highlight. Of course, this is this perhaps overflow of emotions, of feelings, of like sentiments about things. Very strong, powerful, emotional energy present in our energy field this weekend. And this could literally represent water as well. Like there may just be like an inundation of things to do with actual wetness or moisture, or water or leakage, or I don't know, something flooding, something to do with water. If you've got that going on, wouldn't be surprised because of just the huge energetic emphasis on these water sign planets happening right now. Now, aside from that, we've also got something else that is coming exact on Sunday, and that is Venus in the sign of Libra forming exact opposition to Chiron, who is currently retrograding through the sign of Aries. So that's another interesting energetic dynamic to accompany our grand water trine. And coincidentally, as that exact activation hits as well, Jupiter is in a very, very, very tight within 1 degree orb square of both of those planets. Jupiter, remember, right now is at the sign of Cancer, will move to 25 degrees of Cancer on Sunday. And that lineup is Venus at 24 Libra opposite Chiron retrograde at 24 Aries. So very, very tight T-square with Venus, Chiron, and Jupiter on Sunday, while Jupiter at 25 Cancer is also exactly trining Saturn at 25 degrees of Pisces. Very strong Jupiterian influence. Jupiter is classically known as the Great Benefic, so this should be uplifting things to some extent. I do think that things like should be looking up somehow, maybe restoring a sense of faith, trust, optimism, hope, maybe in the trajectory of things. And this is going to be a fantastic weekend to focus on any type of expansion or productivity. Jupiter's growth, and Saturn is like the material world and the structure of things. Okay, so we have support right now. We have cosmic support in whatever it is that we want to build, that we want to grow. And this is also a visionary energy. That's something I've been saying about this past couple of weeks. And it is also a master builder energy that is coming through right now as well. So use the weekend to be productive. Venus and Jupiter in a square, that can bring a bit of the like overindulgent streak that we're going to talk about as we move through the report. And also on Saturday, the moon with the North Node, it can bring like a compulsion to excess as well. So Saturday specifically may be the day where you want to make sure that you are just placing a little bit of restraint on the amount of excess that's going on. But again, this is a quite harmonious energy. There's probably going to be a lot of emotions, but we are moving out also of the strong black moon energy that we've been in this week. As you know, first we had Mercury conjunct the black moon. Now we have then we had Mars conjunct the black moon. Mars is distancing, actually preparing to enter Sagittarius coming up here soon. So the black moon energy is not as prominent as it was throughout the course of the week. That should also, I do think, I don't know, help things to feel like they're like looking up a bit more as well. Not so maybe ingrained in like the shadow side orientation nature of things. So that should help too. And as I said, basically, I do think that it's probably going to feel like it was a pretty good weekend. Now, as we get the weekend started on Friday, we do have this lunar T-square coming through. I have told you guys that the moon will be transiting Pisces Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of this weekend. That starts out with the moon's entrance into Pisces, setting up this mutable T-square with Mercury and Uranus currently at within the first 2 degrees of Sagittarius and Gemini. They're in an opposition right now. That was also something I talked about in my last video, and the effects of it may still be present on Friday, especially with the moon coming in and forming this square like that. So, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but just to kind of list them out for you, the main aspects that I am looking at this weekend are that lunar T-square on Friday that we're going to get into in just a minute. The grand trine in water, of course, but specifically the exact trine between Jupiter and Saturn. I'm going to spend some time talking about that dynamic today as well. And also Venus exactly opposite Chiron being squared by Jupiter. So that is what we're talking about in the report for today. We're going to start with the energy of Friday, of course, and the lunar mutable T-square within 2 degrees of mutable signs that is coming along with our entrance into the energy of Friday. If you have planets 0 to 5 degrees of mutable signs, you guys may be feeling this the most. Mutable signs are Gemini, Sag, Pisces, and Virgo. We've got Mercury at 1 degree of Sagittarius on Friday. We have Uranus at 0 degrees of Gemini, and the moon will be entering Pisces, 0 to 2 degree range, hitting those planets by square. This could bring some unexpected arguments or changes to plans, conversations, decisions that maybe are a little bit disruptive or we weren't really prepared for. There could be misunderstandings that lead to unanticipated outcomes or unexpected upsets that come through with this. People could feel lost or confused, or there could be something that's like lost in translation somehow about the energy. The moon squaring Mercury, that's the emotions. The moon rules our emotions and our feelings and our internal environment. Of course, Mercury is the mind. That's some type of inherent conflict going on between the feelings and the thoughts. And this can create issues with feelings and emotions kind of overwhelming the rational intellect. That's another thing that I've sort of been talking about throughout the course of the week, because we've got all this water sign energy going on right now. The feelings and the emotions of it all are like weighted so much more heavily than like the logic and the rationality and the practicality and like the linear thought, okay? And with this square coming through like this, and that's also because we've got all the water sign energy that's super emotionally heavy and no earth sign energy, and even Saturn, who is like logic and precision and practicality and control and form and function, stuff like that, is retrograding in Pisces, which definitely diminishes like the grounding energy associated with the Saturnian influence that is usually always something we can rely on to kind of ground us out to an extent. There's a very, very ungrounded energy present right now, and there's a very, very powerful emotional energy right now. So therefore, trying to like reason with someone on an intellectual level may not go that well. But on the other side of things, if you like play to people's emotions, like persuasion and stuff like that is likely to be much, much more effective than trying to like logically argue a position if you are trying to get somebody to see it your way for some reason. So maybe that's just a little word of advice. But with this square coming through like this, moon squaring Mercury with the Uranus opposition and square as well, emotions overwhelming rational intellect, making things, or people quite hard to reason with. Or again, this could be bringing up some like very impulsive or spontaneous or shocking or change oriented words or actions or behaviors or communications, or people just kind of like feeling like they need to do something different to break up the status quo somehow, seeking excitement, seeking to feel like free and liberated for one reason or another, seeking to like make a change to resolve maybe the discord that could be going on between like the thought dimensions of things and the feeling dimensions of things. There can be difficulty as well expressing feelings accurately or like feeling properly understood when we've got a lunar T-square like this going on, but also this intense inner need to communicate feelings as well. So, and with the Uranian aspect, simultaneously, like this could be some brutal honesty. Like people could really be, disregarding the emotional impact of whatever truth they feel like they need to express in this energy, which could be creating some emotional upsets or some discord that is happening. So I wouldn't be surprised if energy was expressing itself that way as well. People airing their grievances and saying things without considering just like the maybe emotional consequence of whatever it is that they feel like they need to blurt out or say or be honest about. And it's not a bad thing. Honestly, when we do have the moon square Mercury, it doesn't benefit us to repress those feelings and emotions, because they're going to come out, and it's probably going to be like in a worse way if they just like, erupt, rather than us consciously choosing the time and the place when we need to like state whatever it is that's going on. So, you don't necessarily want to be repressing emotions in this energy, but the expression of things may just be catching people off guard or creating some generalized discomfort, or again, like there could be a feeling of just like not being heard or not being understood despite our best efforts to say what it is that we need to say. People, as I just mentioned, are highly susceptible to persuasion, but not to logic. And this is also an energy where we can kind of like change our mind on a whim based on, kind of any emotional wave that seems to be coming through. And again, people's ability to kind of like speak to our emotions or maybe manipulate our emotions. Like, people may have quite a whimsical opinion about things that is like very change oriented, and it may be difficult to like choose a side and stick to it when we've got energy such as this going on as well. So don't be surprised if someone says that they feel or think one thing 1 minute, and then like you turn around and 5 minutes later they are like on the whole other side of the argument for one reason or another. It's just possible when we've got Mercury squaring the moon, and especially with Uranus in that opposition as well, which is like things happening quickly. Mercury squaring the moon, this is our emotions, right? So our emotions are impacting our thoughts. So, how you're feeling about things is likely to very much be playing a role in the context of how you're thinking about things. But with Uranus and square to the moon and opposite Mercury, like this is things changing quickly, like instantaneously, like split seconds. So, if feelings about things change suddenly, then the thoughts and the understanding about things could rapidly change as well. And you could just leave some people thoroughly confused or like mystified by your split second change in thoughts, feelings, or approach to something that goes on. Not to say that it's wrong or right, maybe something is totally opening our eyes somehow. That's what Uranus energy does as well. It can be like epiphanies and sudden flashes of insight. It is the planet associated with awakening. So maybe you're suddenly coming to understand something, and that's like changing how the way that you're feeling about it. But like either here nor there, that is something that can come about in a lunar T-square like that. Shocking information, unexpected news or information that upsets our emotions or is confusing or hard to believe. The disbelief factor could be prominent here as well. So those are some ways that this energy could be showing itself to us. This can also introduce or indicate cognitive dissonance, mental health issues, anxiety, and again, being maybe in this state of disbelief over something. But I do think that people are, for the most part, going to be speaking their truth and saying how they really and authentically feel about things, whether or not we were prepared for it in the energy of Friday. Or it could just be kind of a strange day altogether where plans and schedules and itineraries aren't necessarily going according to plan. Again, there's tons of water energy going on, so there could be things happening having to do with actual water or these strong feelings that are very much involved in overwhelming the rational intellect. But this is primarily as a result of the lunar aspect, the moon squaring Mercury and Uranus, and the moon transits quickly. So even if this is kind of the state of things on Friday, by the time we get towards the end of the day on Friday, and especially Saturday, things are likely to shift pretty dramatically, and we do have a much, much more harmonious energy coming in on Saturday. We are moving from the tension associated with a lunar T-square to a beautiful and harmonious lunar trine from the sun to the moon. Both luminaries in trine in water signs, more emphasized water sign energy. The moon will be in Pisces and can join the North Node. Again, this could bring some excess. There is this consumption, maybe perhaps a little bit oriented energy going on Saturday in my perception. Venus in Libra is exactly square Jupiter on Saturday as well before she moves and exactly opposes Chiron on Sunday, where they are both in the square to Jupiter. So the moon in the north node on Saturday in the sign of Pisces. This is also like, it's interesting. We do have some like contradictory energy going on this weekend because Jupiter trining Saturn is super supportive and promotes our ability to like work hard, put a lot of effort into things and like get a job well done. Like our efforts pay off, work equals rewards. But we also have the on Saturday, at least especially, the moon with the north node and Jupiter squaring Venus. Both of those are like kick back, relax, have a good time, enjoy the good life, like wine and dine and splurge and spend and indulge, like seeking pleasure, seeking excess, seeking comfort, seeking to not be essentially like bothered by the issues or the uncomfortable things or the hard things. So I don't know, maybe we can have it both ways somehow, Saturday and Sunday, or maybe we're going to kind of like fall into one or the other baskets of those energies, or maybe Saturday will kind of just like naturally transition into this more like duty, obligation, stepping up to the plate, rising to the challenge energy that is super indicated to be present on Sunday. So it will be interesting to see how those two dynamics integrate with one another. But I do generally think that there's going to be a future focus regardless of how we're dealing with this energy, and it is likely to be rather positive, optimistic, and uplifting regardless as well. People may be on Saturday doing things or buying things in order to reinforce a sense of safety or security, both internally or materially, in the energy of Saturday. There could be, of course, some very deep emotional things going on, maybe specifically like emotional connections or emotional bonding going on between people. There could also be an element of heart healing that is involved somehow, as well, as we have the Venus Chiron opposition being squared by Jupiter while we have this water sign energy taking place. Very, very spiritual energy. That's another thing I've been saying about this time generally. You guys, the veil between the worlds is like paper thin right now. Spiritual work, spiritual practices, cultivating your spiritual connection, prayer, meditation, anything that like aligns you with a feeling of closeness or connection to a higher power or to your higher self, or like makes the magic real in your life or your world somehow. This is a very good place to orient your energy and to kind of indulge in, maybe perhaps, in the energy of Saturday. There is a very strong connection to the spiritual realms. We actually have the nodes of the moon right now at 18 degrees of Pisces in Virgo. 18 degrees of Pisces is in a huge tent. A famous revivalist conducts his meeting with a spectacular performance about like this spiritual revival going on. And then 18 Virgo is two girls playing with an Ouija board, which is also about communication with the spirit world. So both the North Node, the Destiny Point, South Node, Point of Karmic Release, talking about the ability to immerse ourselves in spiritual energy at the moment. Remember, we also have Mercury and Uranus currently in an opposition with each other, which can be a very prophetic energy. So when we combine this refined intuition and spiritual connection with the flash of insight, instantaneous knowing, instant download, prophecy-oriented energy brought to us by Mercury and Uranus in aspect with one another, a very deep sense of inner knowing could characterize something about our weekend, Saturday and Sunday as well. The caution, of course, which I have already touched on, but now I'm going to be more specific about, is going to be overspending, overindulging, overpromising, overcommitting, overeating, overdrinking. Specifically, this could be like a very lush type of energy this weekend with the Grand Trine in water signs. That is liquids runneth over, my cup runneth over, if you know what I mean. So you might just want to have an awareness about that. Again, it's not that indulging is bad. In fact, it's indicated. It's just Saturn is limitation, Jupiter is excess. There needs to be a balance. Like the excess is okay as long as it is not out of control in a way that is detrimental to whatever progress we're trying to make towards success right now, which is also represented through the trine between these two planets. So totally lacking self-discipline or being like overly arrogant or narcissistic, like these are going to be red flags of this energy. So, splurge, by all means do it, but we just don't want to take it too far. All things in moderation, right? Even if it's a little bit of excess moderation, which is fine. We just don't want to turn a good thing into a bad thing. I do generally think, though, people should be handling life pretty well. I would say on Saturday, feeling pretty good about things. There could be also like this indulgent, splurging type of vibe. It could be as a result of some like unconscious effort to heal pain or to self-soothe through material, physical, sensorial, or financial indulgence, like trying to use things in the physical world to like fill some type of hole or soothe some type of unhealed or unresolved issue going on within. But because of this T-square that we've got on Sunday with Jupiter and Venus and Chiron as well, I do think that there could be something of true value or an element of true healing that does come with whatever this is, as long as, again, we are maintaining a certain standard of both wisdom and practicality or discipline in our approach to whatever we're feeding into that thing. There could also be some excessive or like over-the-top displays of love, of affection, care, compassion, generosity. Could be for the purpose of healing something or fixing something. Or it could be about persuading some type of goal or some type of outcome. Be careful of love bombing. That could also be something that is a kind of like common occurrence expression of this energy. There could be a financial element to things as well. We are talking about a Venus Chiron opposition. Venus is money, resources, value, worth, wealth, and Chiron also has to do with value, money, financial situations, worth, and wealth. So there could be considerations actually perhaps of like the cost and the sacrifice in regards to something. Like if the cost of something is truly worth it, truly worth what we're getting from it, is the value of the pain or the expense worth the prize, is the sacrifice worth it? That could somehow be a theme this weekend as well, and maybe finding a different solution or seeking to improve things somehow along these lines if these issues come up. This could also be about expenses impacting the home or the family, something like that, or again, like spending money or putting resources into something or investing into something for the purpose of like securing or stabilizing like the home or the family, or things to do with like the mother or children or something like that somehow as well, with Jupiter in the sign of Cancer right now, Cancer being the sign of the home and the family and safety and security and things along those lines. This could also, though, be relieving with Saturn retrograde in Pisces, maybe some type of financial pressure, and also with Jupiter in the square to Venus and Chiron, like some type of financial pain or pressure or contract or something like that, investment or something like that, that has not been benefiting us. This could be about dissolving or divesting or relieving that for some reason. Overall, though, as I've said, I think Saturday will be a generally harmonious, like smooth sailing type of day, despite the emotional overflow, which is likely to be accompanying it with just all this water sign planets, and also this tendency or pull or like emotional compulsion towards excess that could also be present, especially on Saturday. Now, on Sunday, this is our day of exact alignments. Jupiter does tick forward to the 25th degree of the sign of Cancer, where he will be in exact trine to Saturn, who is retrograding currently at 25 degrees of the sign of Pisces. The moon will be there as well, as noted earlier, and this is of course emphasizing and amplifying the trine between these planets and our grand water trine generally. The moon is our emotions and our internal environment and how we're feeling about things. It is kind of like a trigger for feeling the aspects that are underway when the moon aligns with them. It amplifies the energy of any aspect because we're feeling it more, because that's what the moon represents. And with the moon conjoined Saturn, while Jupiter is exactly hitting that trine, and we do still have this grand water trine present, we're probably going to be feeling it to some extent in the energy of Sunday, okay? This could also honestly represent, as I was kind of noting earlier, but I'm seeing it even more so in the energy of Sunday, being released from some financial obligation or pressure. Or it could signify a very wise, beneficial, or successful plan or investment that is currently underway or being formulated or being made. This could also be about getting out of or being released from some type, or healing some type of painful or karmic relationship situation, partnership situation, or like commitment. This could also be breaking cycles in relation to money and relationships and other people that maybe we've realized are no longer benefiting us anymore. Sunday, we've got the exact trine happening between Jupiter and Saturn with the moon there, and also the exact opposition between Venus and Libra, her home sign. This is a strong Venus placement, and Chiron retrograding in the sign of Aries. This is going to bring in, relationship issues, things to do with the dynamics between us and other people, also things to do with money and finances, also things to do with like worth, value, and particularly with Chiron in the sign of Aries, wounds to the ego or wounds to our own self that have distorted maybe our self-image, self-concept, self-value for one reason or other. That could be like healing that is going on in the context of that. We could be being released from some of these distorted views or belief systems that maybe have diminished, maybe the worth or potential of or opportunity for something generally, maybe that we've been working on or involved in. Or this could be the distorted view or belief pertaining to our own self-worth, our own personal capability, like our own self-concept, things along those lines as well. So there could definitely be some heart healing. This could have to do with like old lingering wounds and problems that is going on here, and we could be released from some of these distorted or limited views from the past that have blocked our growth, blocked our progress for some reason or in one way or another throughout life up until this period of time. That is something that I really do think this grand trine in water signs, and also the Jupiter square Chiron simultaneously, and now that we've got Venus there as well, it's even taking that up to another level. It's like whatever has happened at any point throughout life that may have cast us into some view or version of ourselves that has limited like our true capabilities or who we're really meant to be, or the destiny that we have, or our ability to like rise into some like higher version or expand our potential or step into our potential or something like that. Universe really is not allowing us to stay small anymore. We are moving into the age of Aquarius. As you guys know, as we talk about on this channel, we are moving through a 20-year Pluto and Aquarius transit. This energy is wholly oriented and wholly orienting humanity in the direction of self-actualization. It may be happening incrementally and, baby steps at first, but the more that we can do to orient our lives to support like our own authentic potential and to actually like cultivate and develop that and build a life with and of and from and around that, you're going to find that the universe supports your efforts to do that. The more that we try to, fall kind of like in line from this point moving forward and keep ourselves in the box molded by the greater culture or the greater society or like the standard expectation of things, I think that we're going to find that that is just not a successful approach anymore. That is not where the true gains are going to be made, which could be very confusing, especially, for various generations out there, because that's how it's worked. Like, as we've been ending and moving through the end of this age of Pisces energy, and, also with Pluto having been in the sign of Capricorn since like 2008, following the rules, standing in line, like obeying the standard protocol, those have been the rules to success. That has been what works to create like material stability and security when we were in that energy and when we were moving through that period of time. But we're at like a massive energetic transition right now, as of especially Pluto's entrance into the sign of Aquarius, and considering that we are also moving into the age of Aquarius right now. Pluto is the power source, and Pluto is the root of things, and Pluto is the subconscious mind. This, I'm telling you guys, like, this next 20 years is radically going to reorient what does and doesn't work to create success in the material world. There's some definite game changes, and it's going to have a lot to do with thinking outside of the box, doing things different, developing like the individual uniqueness in the form of like talent and potential, but in the way that serves the greater good. When we're talking about the sign of Aquarius, it is about the unique individual, but it's about the unique individual in the context of what that unique individual contributes to serve to the greater overall collective story. Like how that, one little piece of the puzzle makes the whole picture come together better. So we're going to be supported in doing the things and developing ourselves in the ways that not only are authentic and individual to us, but that also play a role in serving the greater whole and like lifting everything else up somehow as well. So that is where the success is going to lie. And in energy such as this, you may find yourself kind of subtly reorienting in that direction and being more focused on what could be the potential of things than maybe having like this limited perception that things can only work following a specific pre-established blueprint, and thinking that like it's too risky or there's no potential in like branching out and doing something different. This is actually really, really, really good energy for branching out in a new direction and having long-term success in that regard as well. But refocusing to where we're at on Sunday, specifically what's going on, as I have stated, we have the finally exact trine taking place between Jupiter and Saturn. So I do want to spend a couple minutes just speaking specifically about that transit, how it traditionally operates. Now, of course, we have to keep in mind that this is happening in water signs, so there's an emotional orientation to this, and it is also happening in the context of a grand trine in water. We've also got, remember, Mars over there in the sign of Scorpio as well, so this is definitely energizing the nature of this transit. But generally, Jupiter in trine to Saturn is about long-term success and can help us to work very patiently to build something up. This is a visionary energy, like I keep going on and on about, and it supports both the long-range goal in combination with the practical daily concerns and tasks and stuff that are necessary to make that long-term goal come to fruition. Work done under this influence is going to be done well. There is a greater than average ability also to see and understand the relationship between the parts and the whole of any situation, any dynamic. And of course, as a result of that, we have a tendency of being able to do the job better, more thoroughly, get better results. This is a fantastic time, you guys, to handle business, especially favorable for expanding existing businesses, starting a new business, or as I was just saying, branching out somehow in some new direction. Clarity of intention and practical problem solving are traditionally strengths of this transit that play into all of that as well. You may find yourself feeling more drawn to seeking solitude and seclusion while we move through this energy as well, but it's not out of loneliness. It's not like a sad seclusion, like a withdrawn seclusion and like a depressed seclusion. It's more like, I'm going to go hermit mode for a little bit. I'm just going to kind of like shut the doors and like quiet the mind and gain a sense of inner discernment and inner illumination. We do have an ability to arrive at some very wise conclusions about things when we've got this energy going on. People are also more likely to feel governed by a strong sense of inner duty and a need to live up to their role or their responsibilities in the world. And also, not be mad about it. Feel pretty good about it, not be running from it or hiding from the responsibility or whatever we need to step up and do or accomplish. This could also express with Saturn and Jupiter in the trine together through a kind of paternal attitude or approach to things, like wanting to protect, wanting to provide, wanting to take on the burdens or the troubles of others for them, so that like they don't have to do it, feeling like, oh, let me just do that for you. But again, like this is something that we also want to watch doing. Make sure that if you're helping in this manner, that you're truly just doing it to help, and it's not about like subtly needing to control things somehow. We should generally try to let people handle their own issues in this energy, because they're going to be able to do it as a result of this energy. You know what I mean? Like, while there may be kind of a greater impulse to like generously give support or protection here, this energy also kind of like inherently supports the individual to like be strong and to be resilient and to have hope and faith in the face of challenge and difficulty, and to like have the ability to endure difficult situations and like come out on top. You know what I mean? So let people solve their problems unless, it's an absolute like emergency and you like direly need to step in somehow. Then perhaps you might be the blessing that is supposed to arrive in that minute to do that thing. But we should generally allow people to see what they can do with their own problems, because you might be surprised with people's ability to like handle difficult situations while we've got this energy going on. And as I was saying, like even if setbacks do occur with Jupiter trining Saturn, they aren't likely to be too serious. We're likely to be able to handle them relatively successfully. There is a more philosophical approach to things as well. This can make us sort of like more mature, seeing the bigger picture in a way that like makes more sense, or is reinforcing our like ability to get the job done or to fulfill the role or the duty or the responsibility or whatever it is. This is also kind of like cut your losses and move on type of attitude, as opposed to dwelling in negativity. So again, I do think people are going to be more positively oriented, more solution oriented, less about like the pity party and the victimhood, more about like healing the problem, cutting the losses, moving on, staying future focused. Saturn rules the material world. Jupiter rules growth. The main, I would say, caution, with a Saturn-Jupiter trine, as a result of Saturn ruling the material world and Jupiter ruling growth, is to not let material growth or expansion through maybe like property or assets or possessions or like whatever it is reach the point of limiting your freedom or creating maybe responsibilities that you just really don't want to deal with. So again, like limits to excess is going to be the best way to handle this energy. Finding the balance between the right amount of overflow and the right amount of like retaining wall, to use water language, because all the water sign planets, that's just the way that it needs to be said. With the moon also in Pisces and in this trine on Sunday, these themes may be extra evident because the moon is going to probably just have us feeling this energy the most. And Jupiter, this is this expansive force. Jupiter is also in the sign of Cancer right now, which is ruled by the moon. So very, very emotional day going on, but I do think probably orienting us towards something that is useful, something that is beneficial, something that is productive. The emotional duty or responsibility to step up, to expand, or to do the right thing somehow could also be just a little bit supersized or extra highlighted or relevant. And I do think that there is likely to also be sort of this inward moral compulsion to be maybe a bit more deep or a bit more serious, but also viewing things optimistically. And there could be some like majorly significant revelations that go on this weekend as well. Again, starting with Friday with that lunar T-square with Mercury and Uranus also, like some type of sudden revelation, sudden awareness. And then with the Jupiter-Saturn trine, perhaps nudging us to be more a bit secluded and like reflective and kind of just really like going within to come to some conclusions about things. But regardless, like there is still this major energy going on that I feel like is indicating figuring things out, finding things out, solving problems. And these are perhaps also things that like we've been in the dark about for maybe a long time, or that we haven't fully understood, or that we've been impacted by maybe for an entire lifetime. But this is life-changing energy. I've been talking about it all week. In my last video, I talked about this grand water trine in the context of ascendant signs. So if you want to know how this grand trine in water signs is likely to be impacting you specifically, personally, based on whatever your ascendant is, that's in the last video. But like to me, it really is like we're talking about Mars and Scorpio with the black moon this week as well, like conquering a fear or just like overcoming some type of subconscious pattern or like limiting belief or something that has blocked our ability to expand and grow through or into this process of self-actualization, aligning with our higher selves, personal evolution, leveling up, personal upgrade somehow. Like I feel like that's the whole like MO right now of the universe, of all of these aspects that are going on. Ultimately, it's about helping us to leave the past in the past, discover who it is that we've always truly been meant to be, and have the courage and the strength and the faith to step into that despite whatever our story or our journey has been up until this point in time. This is, again, like this is mountain moving energy. This is visionary energy. This is a spiritual revival type of energy. This is re-establishing a sense of self-worth or self-value. This is releasing us from distorted or inverted or overly limiting belief systems or self-concepts or self-perceptions or self-images for one reason or another. So don't be surprised if people that you know and that you've always known to be a certain way are suddenly stepping out as like an entirely new individual. Or maybe you are doing that yourself. And honestly, like if you see people doing that, don't judge them. Be supportive, unless they're like obviously doing things that are entirely self-destructive, then, handle the situation accordingly. But if you see people taking steps towards self-improvement or self-development, regardless of their things, of whether they're things that like we may personally choose or that we may personally like find value in, or that we may personally, see the significance or appreciate for one reason or other, we should really try our best not to be judgmental of like other people's processes right now, and to be as supportive as possible when we do see people stepping out of their comfort zone and trying to like embrace some type of level up. And we like on the other side of that should be, trying to do that to the best of our ability for ourselves and not allowing ourselves to be deterred if we do not receive that same reaction from others. But I do think, this is Jupiter and Saturn. This is a great time to make a positive impact on any type of like authority figure or boss or, higher up or something like that, especially if you can prove that, you've done a really good job and demonstrate or show your work. Raises, promotions, bonuses, like this can be a good time of recognition and rewards for a job well done, or for doing things well, or doing things like in the right way. So that's basically what I have to say, you guys, about our energy for the weekend. I want to talk about a couple symbols really quick, considering we've got all of these activations hitting on Sunday. So on Sunday, interestingly enough, we have the sun at 11 degrees of the sign of Scorpio. That Sabian symbol is a drowning man is being rescued, which to me is like wholly appropriate in the context of all of this water sign energy that we've got going on and these planetary configurations. And again, what this energy is doing for us, it is trying to revive us. It is trying to bring us back to life on a soul level. It is about soul growth, soul expansion, and overcoming perhaps belief systems or past issues that maybe had brought us to the end of what we could become while we remained in that energy. And maybe this is the time where our energy is shifting so dramatically that it really is like some type of rebirth or revival going on. Remember, we've got Mars in the sign of Scorpio. That is about purge and regeneration and rebirth and renewal. And Mars is about the self. Personal transformation is another major dimension of this grand water trine. To me, Saturn in the sign of Pisces, this is about breaking down, Saturn retrograding, through the sign of Pisces with Neptune also, all of that's important. This is about breaking down the limitations that have structured our beliefs in the past, or the belief systems that have created some type of block or limitation to our ability to expand. Jupiter in Cancer, to me, this is about this soul growth or the soul expansion. Jupiter is growth, Jupiter is expansion, Cancer is the sign of the soul. This could also be emotional healing or emotional renewal. And then Mars ruling the self in the sign of Scorpio, that is personal transformation. And with the black moon there as well, that has been through conquering some shadow, some toxic dimension of ourselves, or just something that we've been attached to that has been limiting our ability to be who it is that we really are. And when we put all of those together, it is this flow of emotional energy that is seeking to liberate us, to transform us, and to expand us one way or another. And again, if you want to know how that affects you by ascendant, check out my previous video because I went through all of the 12 ascendants. But anyways, we got a drowning man being rescued, which I feel like is very, very metaphorically appropriate for the way that all this water energy is coming together and how it may be interfacing with various events taking place, or contributing maybe even to various events taking place in our life. We have Venus at 25 Libra, in the exact opposition to Chiron at 25 Aries. Now, mind you, when we look at the symbolism associated with any degree placement, we always round up a degree because we look at the wave of energy that is building in, that is growing in, that is forming, and that is coming into fruition, that is strong, that is manifesting. We are not looking at the wave of energy that has already passed and that is waning out and that is dissipating. So although Venus and Chiron are exactly opposed at the 24th degree in however many minutes of Aries and Libra, the Sabian symbol associated with them is going to be the 25th degree. And 25 degrees of Libra, that Sabian symbol is the sight of an autumn leaf brings to the pilgrim the sudden revelation of the mysteries of life and death. So quite a profound and very deep symbolic placement for Venus. And then Chiron at 25 Aries is a double promise, reveals its inner and outer meaning. So both of those symbols speaking to some type of revelation, life and death, inner and outer meanings, like seeing the multi-dimensional layer of things maybe in a deeper and more complex way than we have in the past, and perhaps some type of an epiphany or revelation resulting from our insight gained into that, whatever it is. So I feel like that's an interesting polarity for this opposition, well, slash T-square actually with Jupiter to be occurring as well. Now, Jupiter is at 26 degrees of Cancer. As he lines up exactly in the trine to Saturn, 26 Cancer is guests are reading in the library of a luxurious home. So gaining information, broadening our understanding, maybe learning something being described there by that Jupiter placement as well, which is, synchronistic because the square to Chiron and to Venus in their opposition at those 2 degrees that I just referenced was also talking about, figuring something out, revelations, thinking deeply about something, coming to some conclusion based on gaining some more complex understanding about something. And then we've got Jupiter talking about guests are like literally reading. So could be a very good weekend to learn something, to discover something, maybe of value, maybe of relevance, maybe that helps us to heal from something. And we have Saturn at 26 Pisces. A new moon reveals that it's time for people to go ahead with their different projects, which is like a perfect degree to be in trine to Jupiter because, again, Jupiter trine Saturn, expanding what you've already got going on, starting something new, branching out somehow. All of these very, very supported by Jupiter and Saturn in their trine. So I feel like the symbolism is reinforcing what the astrology is saying when we talk about the position of the planets that are making exact aspect on Sunday, and then bring in the sun as well. And then remember, there is this very, very profound spiritual presence that is available for us right now. Also, the position of the nodes. The moon will be aspecting the nodes exactly on Saturday. 18 degrees of Pisces in a huge tent. A famous revivalist conducts his meeting with spectacular performance, and 2 girls playing with the Ouija board. So, maybe some type of soul revival, maybe feeling like we're being brought back to life somehow in some way, maybe feeling like our soul is being healed by the things that we're figuring out or uncovering or what's being revealed to us right now. But ultimately, it could be another quite transformative weekend. But it also might just be like a good weekend. There is, again, a more chill, gentle, harmonious flow of energy going on right now. And I just think people are going to be feeling like they can do it, like they can get the job done, and kind of like ready to get started on something or to handle whatever the day brings as we get the week started on Monday. And of course, we are entering the month of November also on Saturday, and getting ready to see what is going to be unfolding as we move through November. So that's what I have to say today, you guys, for our astrology and how I am perceiving what we have coming at us throughout the course of the weekend, how it might translate into our experience, or, just the issues that we find ourselves navigating and dealing with. I'm going to get us one more piece of advice now, some guidance from God, Great Spirit, Universe, however you define or interface or connect with the higher power, life-giving force in our reality. That is who I'm asking to provide this message. And we actually already got the card, so just a minute. And ironically enough, our synchronicity message for the day, for the weekend, says, God's the boss. Which Saturn trine Jupiter, that is Saturn especially. Saturn is the boss, right? Saturn represents authority. Saturn represents the literal boss. In the sign of Pisces, that is the spirit world. That is the higher power. So, and in the trine of Jupiter, that is amplifying things, and Jupiter is faith. So God's the boss, very appropriate message for this weekend. It says, who then is that faithful and wise steward? Luke 12:42. Very on point message. You must do your job joyously and faithfully in the knowledge that God is your boss. Like quintessential Jupiter trine Saturn, especially Jupiter in Cancer trine Saturn retrograding in Pisces. Perfect. You must do your job joyously and faithfully in the knowledge that God is your boss. Your subconscious will then respond and promote you and remove obstacles to your success. Exactly. Removing the limitations and the barriers to our ability to expand and grow. Have a constructive vision. Be faithful to your vision. Show respect for authority, and you will be prospered along all lines. I'm like giddy over how perfect, like out of all of these, there's only one of all of them, and this is the one that comes out, and like you couldn't have written it better if you tried. I mean, maybe you could have, but I couldn't have written it better if I tried to come up with like such a message that is so specifically exacting in the context of the Saturn Jupiter energy, and that's the type of thing that makes me excited. So God's the boss, you guys. Spirit speaks, demonstrated for you right here, right now, through this video. So that's what I have to say today, you guys. God's the boss. Message from the stars, our synchronicity message for the weekend. I hope that you guys liked the video. I hope there was something in there for you. If you did, or if there was, please do me a favor, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate that. That really helps my channel grow. Thank you guys all so much for being here. Share it with your friends if you think that they would enjoy this type of content or it would benefit them as well. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook group where I post images of that board, linked in my description box below. And leave me comments, you guys. Let me know what's going on with you out there. If you are having experiences that align with or reflect what I am talking about in this video, in any of my videos, let me know. Drop me a comment. Tell me about it. Tell me everything. That's very, very valuable information to me. I appreciate your presence on my channel so much. Thank you guys so much for being here. Again, if you want to see how that grand water trine is affecting you, well, most likely affecting you specifically based on your ascendant sign, check out my previous video. I went sign by sign and did a few minutes for each of the ascendants on the houses where the water trine falls for them, you know, the planets involved, and how that may be playing out personally for everybody, depending on your ascendant. So that is where you'll find that. And come back with me, you guys, come back with me on Monday. We have a new week of astrology to get into. We are kicking off the month of November minus the first 2 days, and there's probably going to be a lot happening. We've got a Mars energy vibe shift coming up. Mars is preparing to enter the month of Sagittarius, and I will be back on Monday to talk all about it. So you don't want to miss it, you guys. I will see you then. Have a very beautiful weekend. Happy Halloween to all you guys out there celebrating, and until next time, bye guys.